at one time at least, it was the county in California that had the largest percentage of black people. And we do have had black mayors of towns and things, but nothing like Atlanta. I mean, it's really a thrill to come to Atlanta and to go all over the city and see black people doing everything. It's just a thrill, and I'm sure if I went up the East Coast, I would see that. You don't see that much, at least in Northern California, probably in LA, where they have a large black population, you do. But it's just, it's very satisfying to see these people, and think that I had some small part. I wasn't a part of SNCC. I didn't work for SNCC, but I have to say I supported the efforts in various ways. And so I feel I was a part of the movement in that way.
Good enough. Do you have any other memories or comments that you would like to share at this point in time? Have I missed anything?
Well, let's see. So what are some of the things I'll do? I did. Well, I'll tell you one thing. During the march on Washington, everybody else was in D.C. marching, and I was in Atlanta typing for my husband a brief in a case, and I think it was the Rachel case. I'm not sure. I wasn't a lawyer, but I could type. And I remember if my brother Julian was elected, and he and my husband Howard Moore came and told me that they were going to deny Julian his seat. And I do remember saying, well, whatever you do, do not apologize for the SNCC statement. You know, there's nothing worse than, you know, trying to apologize for something that is nothing wrong with it. And then also during that period, there were at least 2 elections while his case was wending its way to the Supreme Court. And people were running, you know, other black people were running for that position, and they would say, you know, you aren't being represented. You don't have any representation in the legislature. Vote for me. And, you know, I'll be seated right away, and you'll have someone you can come and bring your problems to. And so people in SNCC and other people were working really hard to have him seated, and that's one thing I did. By that time, I had my second child, Constance, and I remember I was still breastfeeding her, and we were at his campaign headquarters, and Freddie Green was there. She's now Freddie Green Biddle and lives in D.C., but, you know, we were making calls to people, you know, telling them there's a vote coming up and be sure to get out and vote for Julian Bond. And we did. I mean, they did. They got out and they voted for him at least twice, maybe 3 times, but at least twice. And you have to say that that was a big sacrifice the people living in his district did, because they were without representation during that period. It was at least a year and a half, if not 2 years, where they had no one representing them, but they stuck to it and they kept voting for Julian, you know. And so when he won his case, he could be seated, because if they didn't vote, it all would have been for nothing, because the justices said, well, you know, he didn't win the election. It doesn't make any difference what. And that's one of the many times I've really been proud of black people. You know, I said, go on, black people, you're getting it done.
What do you miss most about your brother?
Oh, gosh. It's hard to say, because it's just so recent.
Well, you know, we don't need to go there. Let's see if we can stick with some of the topics of the markers.
Okay.
Because we missed the part about the heart of Atlanta.
No, we didn't. I asked him.
You asked the part about the heart of Atlanta.
Yeah, he went through that whole case.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But yeah, let's stick with
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would prefer that.
okay, I have no problems with that. Well, our markers are, we've got 2 that are up. They are the founding of the Atlanta Student Movement and the appeal for human rights. I would assume, I'm guessing, because I haven't read anything, that you were friends with some of the people that wrote that statement?
Well, yes, my brother, and then the other people, Lonnie King, Marion Wright, I believe she was one of them. She was originally in my class at Spelman, but then she got a scholarship to study abroad. So then she ended up graduating a year behind me. Herschel Sullivan Challenor, I think her married name is. Yes, I did know those people. And was Rosalind Pope one of them? Yeah. There were quite a few people from Spelman and some from Morehouse I probably can't think of now who wrote it. Yes, I did know. I think that's wonderful that they did that. And where was I? Was that when I was in Indiana? I think I was in Indiana when they wrote the letter that was published in the newspaper. And then and that they all signed the statement. But yes, again, I was really proud of the students for doing that. And of course, we were, everyone throughout the United States was watching the spread of the sit-ins, from Raleigh throughout the South through TV. People were all over the South. Kids were saying, "Hey, I could do that," and they did it.
We've talked about riches, we've talked about public facilities, we've talked about the Heart of Atlanta Hotel and the Pig Creek. We haven't talked about the March on Hurt Plaza. Were you a part of that?
No, I have had I only had one very strange kind of involvement with it was really a perceived sit-in. But we were treated as if we were sitting. It's very strange. It was, I'll tell you, the movie Lawrence of Arabia was showing in one of the few integrated theaters in Atlanta. And so I went with a group of people, and among them I remember it was Dottie Miller, who became Dottie Zellner, my roommate in my apartment, Tom Hayden, and his first wife, Casey. And I can't remember whether Julian was with us or who else, but just a few people. So we had bought tickets ahead of time. I don't know if we did that because we weren't sure that we would be seated or we just did.